Well, the word out of Jets camp is Christian Hackenberg has been accurate. What exactly does that mean? We thought we would bring on somebody who covers this Jets team day in and day out, and that's Darryl Slater from the Newark Star-Ledger and NJ.com on the state of the Jets. Of course, we're the home of the Jets here on 104.5 of Team ESPN Radio. Darryl, Rodger and Chris Honorado, Big Board Sports in Albany. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, man. Let's start with I'm a Penn Stater. I will preface that to begin with here. So I've got a rooting interest in my boy Christian Hackenberg. Accurate, is that accurate? Has he been much improved here? Where do we stand on the quarterback battle right now?
Yeah, I think he has shown signs of progress. I mean, he looked really raw, really inaccurate last summer in training camp and those preseason games. But he worked this offseason with Jordan Palmer, as he did before the draft. And Jordan Palmer's personal quarterbacks coach now. He's the younger brother of Christian Palmer, or Carson Palmer, I should say. And yeah, Christian Hackenberg has looked a little bit better this spring. Now, the Jets have 13 total spring practices here between OTAs and minicamp. Reporters are allowed to watch 6 of those 13. So there's a lot that we don't see. But based on what we have seen, there are times where he's shown some of the inaccuracies of last summer. But on a whole, I think he's been better in that area. But now, is he a polished product yet? No, not yet. Josh McCown looks unsurprisingly farther ahead than Christian Hackenberg in terms of guys who could be the Jets' Week 1 starter. But Christian Hackenberg has been better, and I think a lot of people took to that quote that Jeremy Bates, the new Jets quarterbacks coach, said yesterday, that he thinks Hackenberg has been accurate, which I guess is what you'd expect him to say. I think it would have been surprising if he said otherwise, but I think there is some, there's some truth to what he said there about there's been some development in that area for Christian Hackenberg.
Well, I wrote down some stats here. Tuesday, a touchdown, plus an interception.
You wrote down minicamp stats?
Yeah. Wednesday.
Oh, my goodness.
How about this, Darryl? Wednesday, my boy Hackenberg was 7 of 15, and he threw a touchdown pass, and he was also sacked 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, he's been better. I would say the Tuesday practice here at minicamp was his best day that we've seen out here so far. Now, again, we don't see about half of the practices that they do in the spring, but Tuesday, he was very impressive, I thought. And not quite as impressive yesterday on a whole, but again, the interceptions are things that are going to happen for a young quarterback, but what you'd expect from Christian Hackenberg this spring is, baby steps, and you've seen that. You just wanted to see some progress, and the Jets have seen that. So I think they have to leave the spring encouraged by
who's going to be the starting quarterback. Is it going to be the veteran guy, the experienced guy here to begin the season? Does it make most sense that Josh McCown would be the number 1 guy?
I mean, I think if you're just looking at this from a strictly logical standpoint, it makes the most sense for them to just start Christian Hackenberg. This is a team that's rebuilding. They're not chasing wins. In 2017, they've completely torn down their roster, so why not start a guy who you need to get a read on? You need to get an in-game evaluation of Christian Hackenberg, so why not start him? I don't think Todd Bowles will do that. I don't think he will start Christian Hackenberg just for the sake of starting him. So I do think McCown will be the Week 1 starter. Ultimately, I expect Hackenberg to start at some point during the course of the year. But I think McCown will be the guy at first. But what's the point in starting a 38-year-old quarterback for a team that's rebuilding and a guy who's on a 1-year contract in McCown? But that's not really how football coaches tend to look at things.
And see, I asked you that question hoping you would give me that answer.
Hey, Darryl, does Todd Bowles, if McCown is the Week 1 starter, is that because Todd Bowles has to win games to keep his job? I know he's got a year after this on his contract, but Are people viewing this as Todd Bowles already a lame duck coach?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair point, because if you're Todd Bowles, of course you're going to start the guy who's going to give you the best chance to win, right? I mean, that's coaching logic, especially when you're coming off a 5-win season and you're entering a season in which, people think you're on the hot seat. Now, look, I mean, the Jets roster does not give Todd Bowles a fair chance to win a lot of games. So, I mean, if the Jets win 4 or 5 games this year, that almost would be as good, if not better, than many people project him to do. So how can you fire a coach based on that? If he's not given a roster that gives him a fair chance to win, that's the other side of the argument. But to answer your question, yeah, I think that's a large part of it. Todd Bowles is focused, like all coaches are, on doing what he can to win right now, even as the front office focuses, as they should, on the bigger picture rebuild for the future.
Time with Darryl Slater, Newark Star-Ledger and NJ.com on the Jets. To further Chris's point here, I really think that Woody Johnson should give Todd Bowles an extension right now. I mean, look, this team is not going to be any good next season. This roster is not good enough. It doesn't make Todd Bowles a bad football coach. I think knowing the situation that the Jets are in moving forward this season, I think Todd Bowles should get an extension, something from Woody Johnson saying, hey, I know this year is going to be a tough year. We think you're a good football coach, and we're looking at the bigger picture down the road here. We want you as the coach. We're going to give you an extension. How about that?
Yeah, I think at least some kind of conversation should be had between Woody Johnson and Todd Bowles where there's an understanding of where the organization is going big picture-wise, and that the struggles this year that are inevitable are not going to be the fault of Todd Bowles. I think what Woody Johnson, I'm not so sure that an extension now would be the proper idea, because I think Woody Johnson needs to wait and see if this locker room can avoid the discipline and chemistry issues that cropped up last year. Because that, if the Jets can avoid that and win 5-6 games, Todd Bowles should be back, I think. But if they win 3-4 games and they have the same locker room discipline and chemistry issues with tardiness and player infighting that they had last year, that's a bad sign, because those are things the head coach can control. And those are things that got out of control last year for this Jets team. So I think that Woody Johnson needs to get a better read this season on how Todd Bowles has adjusted this offseason with, taking a stricter approach, which he has with this younger Jets roster. So that's sort of the wait and see there. But yeah, obviously Woody Johnson has publicly said he doesn't want fans to judge this Jets season in 2017 based on wins and losses. He wants them to take a look at the bigger picture. So clearly he himself is doing that as well.
You can find Darryl Slater simply at Darryl Slater on Twitter. That's 2 R's and Darryl. How do the two rookie safeties look so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Marcus May is the free safety out of Florida. He's coming off a broken arm but has shown no ill effects of that. Jamal Adams, the guy they drafted 6th overall, he's looked fantastic. I mean, he had a great day yesterday, nice break of a pass in the end zone. He had an interception. He looks like he belongs. Now, they're not in pads out here right now. It's no contact practice, just in shorts and jerseys. So you kind of take that a little bit with a grain of salt. But Jamal Adams, I think, looks like he belongs, and the Jets, they're ready to roll with these two guys. They traded Calvin Pryor. They cut Marcus Gilchrist, and this is their safety tandem. I think it's unreasonable to expect both of you guys to be Pro Bowlers. They're going to have hiccups. Rookie safeties always do. But I think Adams is a guy who looks like he has a potentially bright future in the NFL.
Well, maybe the Jets will surprise somebody this year. Maybe.
They don't want to.
No, they don't want to.
They don't want to. That would be a Jets thing to do, Raj, is to surprise some people with too many wins. I
mean, when you clear more than $65 million in salary cap, I mean, what really can you expect?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a team that could potentially have $80 million in cap next offseason with their carryover cap space, and then the $60 million that they're going to have next offseason. So they're positioning themselves to go through the rebuild next year and continue to rebuild through the draft. And they're willing to sacrifice for this year. And I don't think it's the wrong approach, because I think it's the right approach, I should say. Because look, I mean, another patchwork rebuild with veterans, how many times can you go through that? And how many times have we seen this team go through that? Most recently in these past couple of years, the patchwork rebuild of the past couple of years ultimately didn't work. So time to hit the reset button and start fresh.
No doubt. Hey, listen, Darryl, appreciate a few minutes. Great work as always, and we'll be back in touch as we inch our way closer to the end of July when everyone gets rolling for real at the start of training camps.
Great. Thanks for having me.